Chosen one, stop scrolling. Let the noise fade for just a second. Feel that stillness rising in your chest. There is a reason your eyes landed here and your spirit leaned forward. You didn't find this message. This message found you. Heaven timed this encounter because your soul was finally ready to understand what your mind couldn't back then. What you called a delay was never empty space. It was a shield. It was protection moving quietly in the dark. You remember that moment, don't you? When everything seemed aligned, your prayers, your effort, your hope, and then suddenly, nothing. The progress stalled. The answer didn't come. The door you were walking toward didn't just close, it vanished. Confusion crept in. Self-doubt whispered questions you couldn't silence. And chosen one, before we go deeper, pause for a moment, hit subscribe and comment, "I see it now," if your spirit is already responding. Because this message is about to speak directly to you. Because what you experienced was not abandonment, it was divine interruption. What you didn't see then, you're starting to sense now. That delay carried intelligence. It carried intention. There was something ahead of you that looked safe in the light, but carried shadows underneath. Not every danger announces itself with chaos. Some dangers arrive softly, wearing the mask of familiarity, comfort, or even answered prayer. And had the timing not been disrupted, you would have stepped into something that slowly rewrote your joy, drained your clarity, and diluted your calling. Chosen one, understand this. Your life is observed. Your path is monitored in realms you cannot see. You are not moving randomly through time. You are being guided through it. That's why the interruption felt so sudden. That's why there was no explanation. Heaven doesn't always warn. It removes. It delays. It reroutes before damage can take root. You weren't being punished. You were being preserved. What hurt the most wasn't the loss. It was not knowing why. But now the fog is lifting. The delay was never about slowing you down. It was about keeping you intact. Stay with me, chosen one, because in the next moments, a hidden truth is about to surface. And once you see what you escaped, you'll never question that delay again. Chosen one, let's begin gently, because this part touches the space where your thoughts grew tired before your faith ever did. Divine timing frustrates the mind because the mind was never designed to see the whole map. It craves clarity, dates, confirmations, and explanations. It wants to know when, how, and why. But divine timing does not move by urgency. It moves by alignment. And alignment often looks like silence to a mind that is used to noise. Have you noticed how your thoughts kept circling the same questions during that season? Replaying conversations, reimagining outcomes, wondering what you missed, what you should have done differently. And yet, underneath all that mental noise, your spirit stayed strangely calm. You weren't at peace, but you weren't destroyed either. Something in you knew this wasn't the end, even when your logic couldn't prove it. Why do you think that was? Could it be that your spirit was listening to a timing your mind couldn't hear yet? This is where confusion often enters, not as punishment, but as a sign that something bigger is being rearranged beyond logic. When divine timing is at work, the familiar patterns break. What used to make sense no longer does. The steps feel out of order, the waiting feels unnecessary. But chosen one, confusion is not always disorder. Sometimes it's the evidence that reality is being restructured at a level deeper than your understanding. Heaven doesn't always explain, it repositions. Think about it. If everything had made sense back then, you would have moved forward with confidence, straight into something that wasn't aligned with who you're becoming now. So timing disrupted your clarity to protect your destiny. Isn't it interesting that the season that confused your mind most is the same season that refined your discernment the deepest? What did you learn about yourself while you were waiting? What fell away because it couldn't survive the pause? This is the difference between mental impatience and spiritual readiness. Mental impatience asks, why isn't it happening yet? Spiritual readiness asks, who am I becoming while it's not happening? The mind wants speed. The spirit wants stability. The mind wants movement. The spirit wants truth. And divine timing always sides with a part of you that will still be standing after the moment passes. Chosen one, if things had moved faster, you might have arrived sooner, but weaker, unguarded, unprepared. The delay wasn't denying you, it was maturing you. It was teaching you to sit with uncertainty without losing yourself, to trust without proof, to stay soft without becoming naive. That's not wasted time. That's preparation no shortcut can replace. So let me ask you gently, what if the frustration you felt wasn't a sign that something was wrong, but a sign that something was being done right? What if your calm in the middle of mental chaos was your spirit quietly saying, wait, you're being protected? Stay here with me, chosen one, because once you understand divine timing, you stop fighting the delay and you start cooperating with the becoming. Chosen one, let's step into this carefully, because this truth isn't meant to frighten you, it's meant to free you. There is a version of events you were spared from, and it doesn't arrive in your memory as a nightmare. It arrives softly as a near miss, a life that almost happened, a path that looked right from the outside, sounded promising, even felt familiar, but carried weight you were never meant to bear. And if things had moved faster, you would have stepped into it with good intentions, unaware of the cost. Have you ever wondered why, when you look back, something in you feels relieved, even though it didn't work out? That's your spirit remembering what your mind never saw. Rushing would have placed you into responsibilities that did not match your assignment. You would have been busy, needed, depended on, but slowly emptied. Some roles feel like purpose until they start demanding the parts of you that were meant to stay protected. Would you have noticed the drain right away? Or would you have called it commitment and kept going? This is how peace gets compromised. Not all at once, but in quiet trades. A little rest for a little approval, a little truth for a little harmony, a little authenticity for a little security. In Chosen One, your identity would have had to bend to fit a space that wasn't designed for who you truly are. You would have adapted, adjusted, explained yourself too much. Your calling would have gone quiet, not because it disappeared, but because it couldn't breathe where you rushed into. Think about that for a moment. What parts of you are now stronger because you didn't have to survive that season? What clarity do you have now that you wouldn't have had if you were constantly managing something that was never yours to manage? Sometimes speed locks us into situations we only realize we've outgrown after we're already attached. This is where mercy hides in the word almost. Almost the relationship, almost the opportunity, almost the breakthrough. Almost doesn't feel like kindness in the moment, but it is. Almost is heaven saying, not this way, not at this cost, not before you're fully you. Would you rather have arrived earlier and lost yourself, or arrived later and arrived whole? Chosen One, what didn't happen didn't fail. It passed inspection. The delay wasn't indecision, it was discernment at work. You were spared the slow erosion of joy, the confusion of misaligned success, the exhaustion of carrying something that looked like destiny but wasn't. So breathe here. Let the regret soften. Let the what if lose its grip. Because when you realize what you escaped, you stop mourning the speed you wanted, and you start honoring the timing that saved you. Chosen One, let's reframe this moment together. Because what you've been calling an obstacle was never placed in your way to stop you. It was placed around you to protect you. A delay is not always a wall. Sometimes it is a shield. And shields don't look impressive while you're holding them. They feel heavy. They slow your movement. They make you wonder why progress takes so much effort. But their purpose is not speed, it is survival. When the pause entered your life, it didn't feel gentle. It felt inconvenient, frustrating, even unfair. You saw open paths ahead, conversations that almost worked, opportunities that looked available, doors that seemed unlocked from the outside. Yet every time you reached forward, something resisted. Timing slipped, energy drained, clarity vanished. Have you ever asked yourself why it felt like you were pushing through invisible pressure? What if that resistance wasn't opposing you, but standing between you and something you couldn't yet see? Unseen resistance is often the strongest kind of protection. There were elements beneath the surface, intentions, consequences, future entanglements that had not revealed themselves yet. And had you crossed that threshold too early, you would have absorbed impact meant to be deflected. The delay acted like a covering, absorbing what you didn't need to carry. That's why it felt heavy. Protection always carries weight before it reveals its purpose. And yet, chosen one, notice this carefully. The delay pressed on you, but it never crushed you. You bent, but you didn't break. You questioned, but you didn't lose your core. Something in you remained intact, even when you felt tired of waiting. Why do you think you survived a season that should have undone you? Could it be that the same shield slowing you down was also holding you together? Protection doesn't always announce itself with relief. Sometimes it arrives disguised as disappointment. Sometimes it sounds like silence. Sometimes it feels like being overlooked. But its signature is this: you remain you. Your values stay intact. Your spirit stays sensitive. Your calling stays alive, even if quiet. If what you went through were truly an obstacle meant to stop you, you wouldn't still be standing with awareness in your eyes and hope returning to your chest. Chosen one, recognizing protection requires maturity. It asks you to look beyond what didn't happen and ask, what didn't harm me? What chaos never reached you? What entanglement never formed? What version of yourself never had to be rescued? When you begin to see that, the delay stops feeling like loss and starts feeling like love expressed through restraint. So rest here for a moment. Let your shoulders drop. Let the urgency loosen its grip. Because the pause you survived was not proof of rejection. It was evidence that your life is guarded. And when protection steps aside, it's not because danger is gone. It's because you're finally ready to move forward without needing the shield anymore. Chosen one, this part is subtle, but it may be the most powerful of all. Because while you were watching the outer world stay still, something deep within you was quietly changing. Emotional growth doesn't always announce itself with confidence or clarity. Sometimes it happens so silently that you don't realize who you've become until you look back and notice what no longer fits. The waiting season didn't just pause your life, it trained your inner world. During that time, your discernment was strengthening without effort. You began to sense things before they were spoken. You noticed shifts in energy, inconsistencies in words, intentions hidden beneath tone and timing. You didn't become suspicious. You became aware. Do you remember how you used to second-guess your instincts? How you needed confirmation from others before trusting what you felt? Somewhere in the waiting, that changed. Now, when something feels off, you don't argue with yourself as much. You listen. Isn't it interesting how stillness sharpened what noise once drowned out? Your boundaries matured too, but not through confrontation. They matured through clarity. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be stronger. You simply stopped explaining yourself to situations that consistently misunderstood you. You stopped overgiving where there was no reciprocity. You stopped shrinking to keep peace. And the most powerful part? You didn't announce these boundaries, you lived them. When did "this doesn't feel right" become reason enough for you to step back? That's why you no longer tolerate what once felt acceptable. Not because you became harsh, but because you became honest. Your nervous system learned what calm feels like, and now it resists chaos. Your heart learned what respect feels like, and now it withdraws from dismissal. You didn't lose compassion, you gained self-respect. In Chosen One, that shift is irreversible. You can't unknow what you now recognize. While nothing seemed to move outwardly, inner stability was forming, a steadiness that doesn't panic when things are unclear, a grounding that doesn't collapse when validation is delayed. You learned how to sit with yourself without distraction, without urgency, without escape. That's not a small thing. That's emotional maturity being forged in silence. How many people do you know who can be alone without feeling lost? The waiting season didn't waste you. It rooted you. It slowed you down long enough to strengthen what speed would have ignored. And now, when movement returns, it won't pull you apart the way it once could have. You won't chase. You won't cling. You won't abandon yourself just to feel chosen. So let me ask you this, Chosen One. If the outer delay produced this much inner strength, was the waiting really empty, or was it preparing you to receive without losing yourself? Stay with that question, because the growth you didn't notice is the reason what comes next won't undo you. Chosen One, while you were waiting and wondering why nothing seemed to move, Something very real was happening beyond your sight. Danger doesn't always disappear through confrontation. Sometimes it dissolves quietly when time is allowed to do its work. While you pause, certain people, situations, and attachments were slowly losing their grip. Not because you fought them, but because they could no longer feed on your energy. Have you noticed how some connections faded without drama, without closure, without explanation? That wasn't loss. That was release. There were influences around you that felt significant at one point. Voices you listened to, environments you adapted to, expectations you tried to meet. But as time stretched, their power weakened. They required urgency, dependency, or proximity to remain effective. And when the delay created distance, their hold began to loosen. Isn't it interesting how what once felt impossible to walk away from now feels strangely irrelevant? That's not forgetfulness. That's freedom forming. The slow removal was intentional. Had those influences been stripped away suddenly, it would have felt like chaos. You might have defended what was harming you simply because you weren't ready to see it clearly. So timing stepped in and let the truth reveal itself gradually. Behaviors became patterns, promises became excuses, motives became visible through repetition. The threat didn't need to be exposed loudly. It exposed itself by staying consistent. How long can something pretend before time tells on it? In some cases, the danger didn't even need exposure. It simply faded. Interest cooled. Alignment weakened. Paths separated naturally. What once demanded your attention could no longer hold it. And chosen one, that is the mercy of divine distance. Distance shows you what confrontation often can't, that not everything deserves a reaction, and not every battle is meant to be fought face to face. Think about it now. What didn't you have to explain yourself out of? What conflict never happened because timing removed you before it escalated? What version of yourself was never provoked because you were no longer within reach? Distance protected your peace while preserving your dignity. It allowed separation without damage. Understanding this changes how you see the waiting. You weren't being ignored. You were being relocated emotionally and spiritually. While you stood still, danger was dissolving. While you questioned the pause, attachments were weakening. And now when you look back, you don't feel the pull you once did. That's the evidence. Chosen one, sometimes the safest escape is the one that doesn't feel like an escape at all. It feels like time passing, like silence, like delay. But when you realize what no longer has access to you, you understand that distance wasn't absence. It was strategy. And what's dissolving behind you no longer has the power to follow you forward. Chosen one, this is where the tone begins to change. After resistance, after waiting, after the long stretch of uncertainty, something subtle starts to settle inside you. The pressure eases, the noise quiets. And without announcement, alignment takes its place. This is why your next move will feel smooth, not because life suddenly becomes effortless, but because you are no longer pushing against what was never meant to open. Flow arrives when struggle steps aside. Think back to how hard everything used to feel. The constant effort, the second guessing, the need to explain, justify, or prove your readiness. Every step felt heavy, like walking through deep water. But now, chosen one, notice the difference. You don't feel the same urgency. You don't feel rushed by comparison or fear. That's because alignment removes resistance. When something is meant for you now, it doesn't demand force. It invites participation. Have you felt that quiet shift where effort is replaced with ease? Your next step won't require proving anything to anyone. You won't need to overthink your words or rehearse your worth. The right opportunities won't pressure you into becoming smaller or louder than you are. They'll meet you where you stand. When timing is right, you don't chase clarity. Clarity approaches you gently. It arrives in calm decisions, steady conversations, and a sense of this makes sense that doesn't need validation. Isn't it peaceful to imagine moving without anxiety pulling you forward? Clarity, when it comes from alignment, doesn't shout. It whispers. It shows up as confidence without arrogance, direction without panic. You'll know because your body won't tense when you think about the next step. Your breath will stay steady. Your intuition will feel clear instead of conflicted. That's how you recognize safety, not by excitement alone, but by the absence of fear. What if calm is the confirmation you've been asking for? Stepping forward now is different because you are different. You're not moving from desperation or lack. You're moving from discernment and self-trust. The path feels safe because you're no longer ignoring red flags or abandoning yourself to keep momentum. You know how to pause. You know how to listen, and that wisdom walks with you. Chosen one, this smoothness is not luck. It's the result of everything you endured without breaking. The delays refined you. The resistance redirected you. The waiting prepared you. And now movement returns without struggle because the timing matches the person you've become. So ask yourself this as you step forward. What if ease is no longer something to fear? What if flow doesn't mean losing control, but finally being carried where you were always meant to go? Trust this feeling. You are not late. You are not behind. You are aligned. And the path ahead knows your name. Chosen one, take a moment and breathe this in. Look at how far you've come, not in distance, but in depth. What once confused you now makes sense. What once hurt now protects. What once delayed you now reveals its purpose. The season you questioned didn't weaken you. It prepared you. And the path ahead isn't opening because you forced it. It's opening because you're ready to walk it without losing yourself. You didn't miss anything meant for you. What passed you by was never aligned. What stayed behind was never meant to follow. And what's arriving now comes with peace, not pressure. That's how you know this is different. That's how you know this is real. Have you noticed how your spirit feels lighter when you think about what's next instead of anxious? That's confirmation. Chosen one, remember this. Protection often looks like delay. Love often looks like restraint. And guidance often feels like silence before it becomes clarity. But now the silence is breaking. The flow is returning. And your next step doesn't require fear. It requires trust. If this message spoke to you, don't let it pass through you quietly. Stay connected. Stay aware. Stay grounded in who you've become. And when you move forward, move knowing this. You were guarded when you couldn't see it, guided when you couldn't feel it, and prepared long before you understood it. The delay is over. The path is safe. And what comes next will meet you where you are, whole, aware, and ready. Walk forward, chosen one. The timing is no longer resisting you. It's walking with you.